like the cosplay. So actually, when you see my Instagram handle, there's a Pokemon reference. Yeah. Actually, I'll put it at the end. All right, it's 7:30 on the dot. So let's get started. So good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Woo! Doing good.
Very good. I know it's 7:30. It's nighttime. I know you spent God knows how much energy. I was actually in the hotel room earlier today because I got tired, after all this walking. Of course, I had to get set up with the panel and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about mental health and bullying at cons. And this one is pretty niche, and I wish there are more panels like this, to be honest with you, because mental health and bullying, you're going to find that a lot in cons. All right, my name is Dean. I'm a pharmacist first. I've been cosplaying since 2015. I've been going to conventions also since 2015. Before cosplay conventions and Comic Cons and anime cons, I've gone to medical, healthcare, anything pharmacy related conventions and conferences. So I've been doing all of these things. All right, so gotta get a show of hands. Who's local, DMV area? Oh, a lot of you. Who is out of state? Who is about 1,000 miles away or something? So, I'm from New York City. All right, who's farther than me? Like anyone in New England? Or just mainly local? All right, so mainly local. So, who's never been to Katsucon before? Oh, a lot. Very good. And who's never been to a con before? Okay.
This is my second con.
Beautiful. All right. So don't worry. So we're gonna take care of this one. So and thank you for coming. Before I go further, I actually dedicate this panel to two friends. One of them is actually wandering somewhere in Katsucon today. I don't know where he is now, but it's dedicated to two friends, Alex and Jen, and they mentally struggled and were victims of cyberbullying in 2022 through Twitter. I won't say the letter though, but it is Twitter. And I want to say that throughout this panel, always keep in mind that you are not alone. When you're struggling, there are other people who go through the same or some similar issues. You are valid, your life is precious, your life matters, okay? I have to talk about trigger warnings. The trigger warnings are mainly about terms being brought up. I will not show pictures that will actually describe these triggers. So there might be some mentions of suicide or suicidal ideation, mental illness, anxiety, depression, bullying, substance abuse. It's only mentioning of words or just terms. There are others, some terms like that S word, which I won't say. You will see some form of that. And then there is cancel culture, which we'll talk about later on the slides. All right, so for participation, so who wants to give it a crack at it? What comes to mind when you think about mental health? Go ahead.
I'll go for it.
Sorry?
I'll go for it. There's tons of them. You got social anxiety. You got anywhere from minor things, social interactions, introverted people, to people that suffer from bipolar and other major, depression and anxiety issues.
Did I forget? I'm autistic. So I can relate. Go ahead, and I'll get to you.
Well, a lot of things. I feel like it's something that hasn't been taken seriously for a very long time.
You're exactly right. We're gonna take this seriously. All right? Go ahead.
My workplace, like all the time, they say, like our bosses say things about how they care about mental health, but the way that they actually act day to day and the way they treat us doesn't correspond with any of that.
That's correct.
They say the stuff to check off the legal box, but they don't actually treat us
Wow.
that way.
Yeah, go ahead.
I say in a general sense, evaluating yourself.
All right. I will let you know everyone is valid here. So I will make that very clear. All right. I'll make that very clear as we get to the end of it. Go ahead.
There's a lot of things that come to mind that comes to mental health. A very classic example I can think of is that someone says or do things to you that actually damages your mind and or a lot of things that will drain your social energy and your body energy as well to the point that it comes to a point that you can't just put up with it. And of course, mental health is important as physical health, and it's something that should be taken seriously.
Yep, so we should take it very, very seriously because mental health is also connected to your body as well. So what happens here is going to affect here, and what happens here goes the other way around as well. So just to go quickly, mental health is a condition of the mind, and it includes emotional, physiological, social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, or act. So it can have an effect on the coping with stress, relate to others, decision-making. What happens with the mind affects it with the body and vice versa, as I just said. And like physical health, your decisions and the environment and what you're born with can also affect your mind as well. So mental illnesses and disorders, so we have a lot of that. Okay, I have autism, as I said, I'm on the spectrum, and I deal with a lot of overstimuli. So for those who are at Katsucon, so what are some of the things that you deal with? What are the stressors? Go ahead.
Well, a few years ago, my mom suffered a stroke, and it affected her mind. So she now has short-term memory loss. So if I was to tell her, and I told her this 5 times before I left for Katsucon, I'm going to Maryland for a convention with my friends. And she kept on asking the same thing over and over again, and I got angry.
Wow. Anyone else? Go ahead.
A strange state. I suffer from social anxiety, but thrive on being around people. I think often very easily. And so it's just this weird perpetual stressor state of like, I want to be around people, but I can't like communicate.
Go ahead.
I personally struggle a lot with overstimulation, especially with crowds. I also often struggle with dysregulation, like with parking and things like that. It's hard to do all things control. And from a personal level, my brother actually passed away from mental health struggles.
I'm really sorry.
He would help me with cosplays a lot, so that's something that I think about often, and I think that's something that's hard to struggle with, like not being able to express that experience to other people, especially in social settings where it's kind of like not expected for you to bring the party down, if that makes sense.
Again, I'm really sorry about that, but thank you for bringing it up, and hopefully I can help out with trying to make things, at least, bearable. All right, so mental illnesses or disorders, it's a condition that involves changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, and it can be linked with distress and or problems functioning in social work or in daily family activities or daily activities, which we all go through. So it affects productivity, relationship with others, adaptation to change, and coping. So there are many, many kinds. We talked a few about it. So social anxiety disorder. I had a friend who had CPTSD and is neurodivergent. I think a lot of us are neurodivergent, especially if you're in the spectrum, like myself. Anxiety and depression are the common ones, but the big thing we're going to talk about is anxiety, because this is what we go through when we go to cons, especially if you haven't gone to cons too often, or if it's a new experience, or if the con is much bigger or overstimulating compared to past cons, for example. So, and there are other disorders, like eating disorders, personality disorders, and so on. Anxiety. We all deal with anxiety. We all deal with stress. Right? It's a body's reaction to perceived danger or important events. So, as most people know, or may not know, there are 2 kinds of stress. So there's eustress, so that's the positive one, the happy one, and there's distress. The common thing we talk about is really distress. So you get stressed out, like Zenitsu here, all right? It alerts us to danger and helps us to prepare to deal with it. So my friend Katnisis, who's a Twitch mod, tells me about fight, flight, or freeze response. So you either fight something, or you run away from it, or you just don't know what to do, you're frozen. Okay, so even if it's a protective measure, it could be a problem if if it goes off and there's no real or immediate threat, if it happens too often, if it's too intense, especially if it happens often, we have a problem. If it gets upsetting, causes distress, and affects your daily activities of daily living, such as work or school. So we talked a little bit about, so what can cause anxiety at conventions? So we talked about crowds, for example. We talked about, let's say, something happens all of a sudden. What other things cause it? Go ahead, and I'll choose you.
Just because of like how many people are here physically, which is awesome, but like without going into detail, for example, for me, sometimes I see people that physically have characteristics similar to people that have done really, really, really bad things to me years ago. That even though it's not them, just the physical characteristics subconsciously make me feel extremely unsafe.
We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about social media too. So that plays a role in both mental health and bullying. Go ahead. That is correct. I actually lost one of my cosplay items yesterday, and I went to Lost and Found. So I'm waiting for an answer there. Sorry? Oh yes, that causes stress. I was dealing with it today. So so when you're dealing with the Square, you're trying to pay with your Apple Pay or your Samsung Pay or whatever it is. It doesn't go through because everyone's using the internet. All right, and who's next?
That was
Yeah, and then you go next.
okay. So I know that we're in crowds and it's big, crazy, and sometimes it's fun, but also when it just gets loud, you can't really hear yourself think.
That's me.
Yeah.
Can happen a lot. I mean, for me, because I'm not at a convention like every week or every month, I'm not really affected by it. But when it really gets crowded, I just feel like I have to hold my breath because I feel like I'm swimming.
I see. All right, go ahead.
I think another good example of anxiety at a convention is like you're busy having fun, but then all of a sudden you see someone who you used to associate with, like an ex-friend or contemplating who you used to look up to, that happened to be there. That can cause like anxiety because you're starting to think to yourself, oh my god, they must have seen me around. What if they're going to gossip about me to others? Are they going to shit post about me on social media, etc., etc.
All right, so what happens when you get anxious? I know everyone's different. Can anyone go ahead? Sometimes I'll just scream and then I'll just go crazy and I start getting physical. That's usually more extreme. What I try to do before I go there is that I just try to find a safe space or a quiet, calm place. Try to find something that's not very stressful so I can collect myself. Oh, you have something? Raise your hand.
Like when I'm suffering from that stuff, like I lose the ability to like worry about anything else. Like I start worrying about whatever it is that's going on and tune them out. And like I try and put myself in like a corner of an environment so that way I'm not in anyone's way, but like I just need time to like wait it through and like I can't think about anything else. And no matter, and I just have trouble having fun doing anything else that's going on. I just can't stop thinking about it.
I got some bad news. When I'm anxious, sometimes my memory goes bad and I'll forget things. Yes, go ahead, in the back.
I get a fight or flight.
Yep.
I personally just fly away. So it's easier that way, even in other good terms, or whatever terms, rather than saying go afterwards.
So it's very important that we want to find a way to prevent it from getting that far. So, we all have these kinds of stresses. So anxiety at conventions, especially when you go to bigger ones or you've gone to places you've probably never been to before. So when it's new or unfamiliar, some people get stressed. I have a friend who came to Katsucon 2 years ago. He was overwhelmed just by going into the atrium and looking at the glass ceiling. And when I showed him a map of where to go to, he got lost. It's actually added more stress. Crowding, as some people talk about, sensory overload, too many activities. If you run out of money, or if you're dealing with, if things are too expensive, if you're running out of time. Sometimes when I get stressed, I forget, oh, I have to go to this, I have to go to that. Health, in general, whether it's your mental health or your physical health. So if something happens, maybe if you got the flu, that's a stressful thing to have, then you can't come to a convention because you might infect someone. Interactions, which we talked about as well, may cause anxiety. Uncomfortable situations may cause anxiety. So if someone wants to touch your prop, for example, or if someone gives you some kind of a compliment or some snarky compliment, who knows? Or snarky comment. And there's so many more. So, here's some solutions here. So, in order to make things a lot more easier, to reduce the stress, before cons, at least a week before the con, plan ahead, be prepared. Why do I say that? So you can actually know where to go, at least you don't have to get lost, or you reduce the risk of getting lost, and you reduce the risk of being indecisive. Take breaks. It's very important to take breaks. If you want to put it in your notifications and your alarm clock, I strongly recommend that. If you don't take breaks, you will burn out. You will burn out. All right. And I said before, find calm, safe, or quiet spaces. All right. And this is a safe space for the time being when we do the panel. All right. So at least we have a good amount. We got some space here and there. Stay away from overwhelming triggers. Very obvious. Stay hydrated. If you're dehydrated, we have issues. Eat healthy. And when I mean eat healthy, you eat real food. Are Cheetos real food? Maybe, but it's processed. We don't want to do that, okay? Is a Monster a real food?
Hell yeah.
Well, if you can manage it, right? So if you just drink it and you don't drink water and whatnot, you could crash afterwards. You can get really jittery, all that stuff. All right. So, but you have to be careful with energy drinks. Still be hydrated, all right? And you still have to eat real food. So your eggs, for example, I know they're expensive. I know inflation sucks, all right? Another thing is to be with friends, be with people you trust, and to socialize. That's why we're here for cons, right? Among other things. So my friend Kat also has this acronym, BRAVE. Be brave to find anxiety. So when you're stressed, find a quiet spot, quiet place. Maybe you're a hotel room. Close your eyes. You breathe slowly. All right. So breathe in 10 seconds, then hold for maybe 3 seconds or so, and then breathe out 10 seconds. And you continue it. Don't go, no, don't do that. That'll make you even more stressed. Just hold, exhale, control your breathing. When you control your breathing and you control the environment, it makes a lot of a difference. But you have to really, really say, hey, I know we get into our moments. So stop right there, breathe, and then go from there. Relax every day, allow ourselves time and space, voice our fears, and eat and drink well. So that's the mental health part. So, who's been bullied? All right, about 2/3. So, who wants to share what comes to mind when it comes to bullying? Go ahead.
Being gaslighted.
How so?
Well, for one thing, you tell a person that, I'm broke, I can't help you out, and then they say, but Ryan, you should have enough money, and I tell them again, and I do not, and then the next day they ask, when are you going to pay me, when are you going to pay me, when are you going to pay me?
Behind Ryan.
When they use words, when they just say words,
Okay, that's wrong. Yes, you? Yes.
You can just kind of dislike you and say something out just for being you. Because I'm a neurodivergent person and I don't apply because I run into typical people a lot where they just find something wrong with me and they just start singling me out.
Alex. Oh, this is one of my friends who I dedicated this panel to, actually. He's here. Go ahead.
Okay. There's a pointing like cyberbullying, like social media.
Yes.
Pretty long posts, and they're just like calling you out. I just find it offensive, but you shouldn't like make insults on cyberbullying.
We should not be doing that.
You know,
But it's all over the place.
exactly.
We're actually going to talk about a little actually a little bit of cancel culture a little bit later. All right, that's actually a type of bullying, a type of cyberbullying in this case. Yes.
Definitely gossip comes to mind when it comes to bullying, and I know you have that on your slide deck. The reason why gossip is considered bullying, and not just that though, when you gossip about someone, the likelihood of the person who you're talking about is going to hear it depending on how big your social circle is. And given that the cosplay community is just one giant social circle, pretty much the likelihood of that person who you're talking about is 99%.
Okay. All right. So, what is bullying? So, we all know this, but unjust behavior when one person or a group of people intimidates, abuses, or coerces another person, or a group of people with the intent to hurt, harm, or distress that person. And it doesn't have to be directly at the person. It could be also with property damage as well, in addition to physical, verbal, or relational, or social. Gatekeeping is another kind of bullying where, you know, in certain fandoms, they'll say, oh, you know, you're supposed to know this and that, and then they'll exclude you. It's never the fault of the person who gets bullied. Just keep that in mind. And risk factors can vary. So, race, your appearance, someone called me Four Eyes because I'm wearing glasses. Right? It can transcend through different things. So there are many types of bullying. We talked about that earlier. So social bullying, verbal bullying, physical, cyber, sexual. That's I was talking about in the racist part. There
The
is
effects of bullying can last a lifetime. That's the conclusion of a comprehensive study.
I am so sorry about that. That's a little loud even for me. So, but reason why I bring this up is because bullying can affect you years later. So I want to share this with you. I apologize for the sound.
The effects of bullying can last a lifetime. That's the conclusion of a comprehensive study.
And the thing is, Justice Schneider tells us, if you've been bullied, it can affect everything from your social outlook to your earning power.
It seems like everyone has a story of being bullied.
Rachel and I enjoy I should say that. Harassment of a special kind, being on our side.
John Reese is still talking about the things he was called as a kid, and he agrees the hurtful effects are lasting.
The bullying has a tremendous impact on people, and it's not a hurdle for a teenage child or even a young child to overcome.
A new study that began by following all of the 7,771 children born in Britain during one particular week in 1958 and tracked them from ages 7 to 50 concludes the effects of bullying are still visible nearly 4 decades later.
Perhaps something that happens in childhood that sticks with a person, and it really shapes how they view the world and how they view themselves, and it has a significant impact on their functioning.
The study shows the effects of bullying are wide-ranging. Social relationships may suffer, and people who were bullied as kids may even have a lower education level and earn less.
So you find an increased risk of depression, of anxiety, you find lower educational status, you find people who are just not doing as well 40 years later in their adult life.
The decades-long study seems to quantify what many have long believed, that bullying takes a toll on more than childhood, and it can be permanently damaging.
You know, your world is small, and it's all about your peers and your friends, and if you feel like they're not supportive, it doesn't feel so good.
And it so hurts later in life.
Absolutely.
A sad reality that researchers hope will change the way bullying is viewed. Jessica Schneider, CBS.
All right. So it goes to show that bullying, if not treated, if not addressed right away, can actually lead to issues even years down the road. So that's why it's very important that we, you know, for those who are bullied, who are being bullied, or who have a history of being bullied, it's very important that we get the support that we need. So at cons, there is bullying. In the con, outside the con, online, it's all over. Discrimination, misogyny, homophobia, racism, and many more. So people judging cosplays, who's got judged for their cosplays? I got judged because I'm wearing different shoes. So what? All right. Cosplay is just costume and play. It's not about perfection, it's about how you want to express yourself. I met a Knuckles cosplayer last night, and he just dyed his hair and he kept his dreads. That's art right there. You don't have to be exactly the same, all right? And in addition to the judging of cosplays, they look into authenticity, costume, body shape. Like, what are you doing? Doesn't matter what skin color you have. If you want to cosplay the character, you cosplay the character. And cosplay is never, never, never consent, right? So there are two kinds that I've seen with bullying in cons. So there are cliques and gatekeeping. So cliques is the small group with shared interests that doesn't really allow others to join them. And gatekeeping is really controlling whether someone is into the fandom or some group. So, more examples. Questioning one's knowledge, fandom, or interest. That's a kind of bullying, even though it may not seem that way. And as I said, it goes beyond cons, it goes online as well. It should never be a place for bullying. Never, never, never. And cons should be a safe place for everyone to enjoy and embrace their passions and interests, and to share them. So as we talked about with the effects, it could be the S word, which I'm not gonna say, I'm gonna be careful. So it could lead to harming yourself, drug abuse, mental health issues, of course, they're connected, depression, anxiety as examples, aggression, harm to self or others, maybe some criminal activity, and poor long-term health effects. So when bullying becomes a crime, so that's when you cross the line if you physically assault them, if you harass them, violent death threats, obscene or harassing calls or text, stalking, hate crimes. Even if you take a photo of someone, if it's inappropriate. I think it was 2 years ago, there was one con where there was one perp who actually took pictures under someone's skirts. Why? I don't understand. And then there's exploitation or extortion. So I'll go through this quickly with warning signs. So if someone refuses to communicate, if unexplained self-harm, missing or damaged items, productivity has gone down, if someone feels alone or excluded, if the activities of daily living are affected, if someone feels insecure, frightened, or anxious, changes in sleeping or eating patterns. Some people can't even leave the bed. Some people cannot go out. Someone is not active online. Someone's being sad, moodiness, or depressed, low self-esteem, feeling sick. Some people will fake illness, such as Munchausen syndrome. So it's a syndrome where you fake illness just so, because you're stressed or for whatever reason. So it goes unreported because some people get ashamed, and it's totally understandable, but it's very important to speak up, and especially speak up to the right people as well. So with professionals, with therapists, and so on. So there's a fear that the bully may retaliate. There's pressure from peers to remain quiet or to retain social standing. Concerned that no one will believe them because they distrust the school, distrust the authorities or whatnot. Worried that they may be labeled as a snitch and become a target for other bullies. Some feel that they deserve it or because they lack self-esteem. Maybe a failure to recognize that they're being bullied, that if it's subtle or whatnot, such as spreading rumors, ostracizing others, or sabotaging, and assumptions that others expect them to deal with it on their own. All right, social media, we've come to this. Social media has an effect. So who's had experiences such as mental health issues or bullying through social media? I think most of us have, all right? I have seen where I think there are 2 cosplayers 2 months ago. I don't know if anyone knows about this. I think it's in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. I won't say the names. So they wanted to get content, all right? So now people use social media as a way of income. So they were 2 influencers, and they got called out for it. So what you do in social media, whether you post something or you view something, or whether you comment, like, or share, may have consequences. And I'm sure all of us know about that, but it's very, very important to emphasize that because a lot of us will make mistakes about that. I've made a few mistakes myself on that. So, as we said, it can be used to share or exchange information or knowledge. And it can be used as communication, assuming the Wi-Fi works, assuming that the cell service is working, and I don't really have any guarantees if you're in the Gaylord area, unless if you're in your hotel room. But it can have negative effects, particularly with mental health. Who's had to take social media breaks? How many days?
I took a week.
1 week? What did you do? Are there other ways to do it? You know, you have to use your phone to text or something.
Well, you just said social media, which me,
Oh yeah, that's right.
I usually do Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. I took a break from that, and I was just focusing on just catching up on some shows, or redoing my wigs, or my cosplay, or seeing what movie was out. Just getting out and breathing and walking my dog.
Go ahead.
Took a break from Facebook. It was just like controlling feeder and unfortunately we feeding to a lot of rejection. And I was like not casting the show that I really want to be in, and then I saw the cast list come out and I just got like very sensitive by it. It was like, look, I'm just going on Facebook hiatus because maybe text me or something like that.
Understood. And I've had a few friends where when they took a break from social media, they deactivated their accounts, and all they did was they would step out and they would go hiking, and they would go they would travel to places and not have their phones with them. So it's just like a break from all that. Go ahead.
I don't even have social media on my phone anymore. I do it all from my computer. And that's just fine, just having it around all the time, just doesn't feel it.
I see.
Okay.
So it can cause someone's personality to change when someone's using social media. Now, it's not everyone, of course. Possibly, and a lot of the reasons has to do with to get attention or clouds. All right, so that's why it's very important to use social media responsibly. Okay, because it could be used as a tool for resources, it could be used as a tool to share, exchange information, it could be used to communicate. Sometimes I interchange between texting and social media, but they're not the same thing. Some people, well, a lot of us use group chats in our social media apps to communicate. But it can, as everyone knows, it can be used as a tool for bullying. Just know that social media is not the be-all and end-all, which for those who are taking a break, you realize it's not everything. There's more to life than just social media. I think we should have more of this in-person kind of thing, rather than just go online and just put all these comments or whatnot. All right. All right, cancel culture. Who has been canceled? I got canceled because I actually posted about, people not paying their fares for the subway or bus, and people said I was insensitive. So, actually, do you want to share by any chance why you got canceled? Who raised their hands? Yes. It's up to you if you want to share. If you don't want to share, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
When I was 15, I called a little girl a bitch, and that was it. I did something stupid as a teenager on Twitter, and that was enough to have an entire fandom block me, and that was a lot. That was actually part of why I took a break from social media for 4 years.
I'm actually sorry about that.
I shouldn't call people a bitch. That was.
We're all human. We're all mistakes. I actually want to thank you for expressing that. And by the way, even though I'm recording, but it's really on me. So you're good, okay? I really want to thank you for being very brave about that, because it goes to show that we're all human. No one's perfect, and in order to become better, it's very important to learn from our lessons. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm gonna expand on the cancel culture part. It's a call for or to bring a collective boycotting or or something after a perceived wrongdoing. So, for example, if someone does something that's really bad, like for example, say a bad word, all right? I call them out for that, all right? And it tends to rid the person or thing on the receiving end of any kind of redemption, some of the examples include social exclusion or alienation. So cancel culture is not the same as holding people accountable. I think what people were trying to do when they're trying to cancel people is just in my opinion, I could be wrong, but it's just we want people to realize their mistake and to learn from it. However, the way we're doing it is just people are just not being able to express themselves.
You mean more like attacking?
Yes, so it's more of attacking a person rather than trying to bring it up and have a conversation. It's really important to have a conversation. Without having a conversation, how are we going to grow? So some examples include shunning those who say or act against someone else's beliefs or opinions, using derogatory comments, posts, or messages to ruin one's reputation, or encouraging others to join in those shunning, blocking, negativity, and toxicity. So the issues is reactive. Quick to judge or jump to conclusions, could be misleading, and it creates a toxic culture. So it doesn't allow people to redeem themselves and to learn from it. And for accountability, it's totally different. So it holds people responsible for their actions and accesses the right ways of giving justice rather than vigilante-related actions. So it's important to discuss issues in private before escalating, of course. But if it gets really serious, then we have to get to that next level. Working together to monitor behavior, then change the way the person behaves. So that's really, really important. Again, I stress growth and also learning from mistakes. So it's very important because no one's perfect. We're human. If the behavior persists, of course, report to authorities, depending on the severity. So you can still hold people accountable without canceling them or having this one strike you're out mindset. So give people a chance to learn and grow. As I said, we all make mistakes here. So both ends it can have harmful effects on both ends, the cancelers and the canceled. So those who are doing the canceling, they could impose beliefs or opinions on others, could spread misinformation, disinformation, and not approaching in a way, it may not be approachable in the way they approach things, whether it's healing, growth, or forgiveness. So, and there's also binary thinking, black or white. No room for thought or reflection. So that kind of shuts down not only the communication, but also the conversation discussion. So creates cliques, cults, and in-group and out-group behavior. So the cancel, those who are in the receiving end may be forced to use underhanded tactics to defend themselves. They get defensive. So if someone just calls you out on something, it's very natural to say, oh, I didn't do it. Oh, there's a reason why I do it, or whichever answer it is. It can send hateful messages, posts, and comments in return as a reaction. Pressure can lead to more bad behavior, and there's no real justice, there's no lessons learned, the conversation ends. There's no continuing, there's no learning, there's no continuing of the conversation, basically. But can cancel culture be used correctly? What do you think? Or we can't use it at all? What do you think? Anyone wants to answer that? It really depends. So on opinions and personal matters, don't cancel them simply for disagreeing or having different opinions. I will say this, we will not talk about politics, but that's one of the examples. All right, we should not be talking about politics, very toxic. So, actions that need to be addressed. So anything that's really bad, so grooming, adult minor interactions, anything involving money payments, it really depends. So those are just some of the examples. So that's a long list, but I'll just summarize it. So bullying preventions, it's very important to educate yourselves and others and recognize the signs of those who are bullying or being bullied. So encourage those who are being bullied, especially those who are recently bullied. It's very important to speak out. All right, talk to a therapist. Who sees a therapist? I guess, so it's very important to see a therapist. If possible, I know costs can be pretty expensive if insurance may not cover it. All right. Does anyone have someone who they can trust to talk to? All right, close enough. That's very, very, very important. All right, so again, you have to express yourself, because if you don't, you become a pressure cooker. So if you don't share what you're going through, it's gonna mess up your mind. And I know it sounds very obvious, but I guess this is people tend to forget. I forget about it sometimes, so that's why it's very important to really express yourself. So build positive relationships and strong support systems. I have my friends over there, so they help me with the support system. If something goes on, if something goes wrong, I talk to them, and if they see me do something wrong, they will hold me accountable. So set positive examples. So treating with kindness and respect. If bullied, tell them to stop, and if possible, report it if it continues. All right. Positive reaffirmations are very important. So for those especially for those who are on the receiving end and being bullied, and it's important to be a good friend. It's also very important to listen and hear them out and validate their feelings. And as I said before, you have to emphasize that, this is not tolerated. And also, you can be your own safe and positive space. So if anyone needs help or all that, if possible, if you're able to, lend a hand. All right, so boundaries. Why do we need boundaries? Because, I don't know why this picture is blocking, but I will say this. So, advocate for yourself, all right? When people take advantage of you, it's going to be a big problem. You're basically being manipulated. We don't want that. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. So you're not obligated to anyone's interests. So one example is someone giving you a drink at a bar for free. What would you say? What's the answer? Will you take the drink?
Don't drink it.
Don't, no. All right, if you feel uncomfortable, don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to distance yourself. And exchanging contacts on social media, if someone wants it, you're not forced to. If you don't want to share your social contacts, you don't have to. If someone wants a hug, if you don't feel comfortable, speak up. All right, taking photos, that's a big one. So if you don't feel comfortable for them, if they want to take a photo of you and you're in a rush or you don't feel comfortable, you can say no, that's fine. Sharing things, which we talked about, whether it's food or whatnot. And favors. I've had a friend who asked for favors of another friend and kept asking. That's not good. Who has used the buddy system? So with the lack of Wi-Fi and cell service, it's not as easy, but at least we try. At least two people will monitor and each other's safety and well-being. So clear and proper communication is key. It's very important to know your limits for each other. And it's very important to check up on each other on a regular basis. Don't check on them like every single minute, of course, but maybe every hour, maybe every couple hours. So if someone gets stressed, tell them, hey, take a break. Remind them to take breaks. If there are any opportunities for stress relief, if you're feeling stressed, I will tell my friends, hey, I'm stressed. I need some help, for example. And remind each other to eat. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Remember, real food. We want to reduce the processed foods. All right, it's my opinion, Cheetos is not really real food to me, for example. All right, so it's highly processed. I don't think you're gonna get a lot of energy, but a little bit is fine, but you don't wanna have that as a full meal. Can we agree with that at least? Great. If separated, so if we split up into individuals or different groups, maintain contact and set up a meeting place. And I call it home base. It could be your hotel room, or maybe if it's easier, let's see, maybe the concierge, the lobby. You can't have the gazebo as a meeting place. That's too many people. You can't find each other. So that requires, you having a map and being prepared. And then talk about each other's experiences. So maybe it can be after the con, maybe during the lull period. And if your buddy becomes a danger to oneself or others, get help ASAP. So, I need to emphasize this more. There is a suicide and crisis lifeline, so it's 988. I don't know if anyone remembers the full number, the 1-800 number, because I forgot it. You don't have to remember that, but if you do, it goes straight to 988. So if anyone is under crisis or if there's something going on, 988. All right, so we're actually finished pretty early, 15 minutes early. So I want to give the remaining 15 minutes or so if anyone wants to speak up on mental health related things, bullying experiences, if you have any questions for me. Those questions, you don't have to answer all of them, all right? It's up to you. So if anyone wants to speak, there's a microphone over there if you want.
I'll go first, because there is something about suicide that I do want to say.
All right, sure.
Okay, good. So, about in December of 2023, I had a friend call me the night before Christmas Eve. He said that he was going to commit suicide, so I told him to stay on the phone with me, don't do anything, and to my knowledge, I found out later as I was driving and talking to him, the ambulance actually came, and luckily he did not die, which was a good thing. They came and got him, and I had to go straight back home. And it wasn't until 24 hours later that he gave me another call, said that he was doing better, and I was so relieved. When I asked him why was he committing suicide, he had said it was because his mom wanted him to take a COVID test because they didn't know if he contracted COVID or not. And it got me so upset that I yelled at him because to commit suicide over a COVID test, I know this may sound insecure, but I really thought it was ridiculous because I had suicidal thoughts since I was 13 years old. And even though I thought it was ridiculous, I had to calm myself down because something darker may have come over to him, and I had to realize that because keep in mind with this, suicide just doesn't affect the person who thinks it or commits it. It affects the people around them, just like cancer does. And I help him anytime I get, talk to him and such to make sure that he's doing okay. And anytime he brings up social media, and just a few days ago, before I came here, he said that a friend of him decided to block him. And this is actually someone who was an influencer, and I told him, and excuse my language, you're better off without him because he is an asshole, because he has screwed me over many, many times. And I gave him fair warning about that. So that's what I want to say about suicide, that it just doesn't affect the person who thinks it or commits it. It affects everybody in their life. So when you're thinking about that, think about the people who are in your life because those are the ones who matter to you the most. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing the story, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Anyone else who wants to share anything?
Representing. Okay, during the pandemic, 2020, based on social media and certain amount of, people that's got me influencers, being they're a big time show off or what's the point of that?
closer to the mic, sorry.
What would the tenants think? The tenants boys think, yeah, I'm just done. I got that screwed over. There's no more expense. And like social media posted a lot of weird, context that got me involved. Just stay away, what is possible, but since I'm doing my own very well, I don't want to be fully committed. I just want to don't get involved. Don't be that person who posts a lot of blogging on social media that long, 10 or 20 paragraphs. I see people do that.
So I want to get this clear. So what has he done?
Alright, he doxed me and got my other friend involved. It's already on Facebook, as they didn't show me a little bit earlier, no names mentioned.
Did you address it to him and say, this is wrong, I deserve to be treated better?
Yeah, I addressed that and literally long texted, overall, gossiping, drama, and my own expense. So I kind of left that away from me now.
You can report this on social media, right? You can just report it through, they have it somewhere, whether it's Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, a lot of my friends knew about it too, so they were
Just block them. That's it.
No, you can block.
Block now.
Your life is much more precious than that, okay? Over just one person. Anyone else want to share anything? I think he's. Who wants?
Go.
Is it on or no?
Hold on, I think we have to extend it.
It's on. There we go.
Okay.
So basically, let me answer the questions very candidly. What happened? Afghanistan, war, whatever. How did you feel? Survivors, remorse. It is what it is. What did I learn? I learned you can't blame yourself for a lot of things that happen in life because they're out of your control. And that's the thing that keeps me going. And how did you address it? Honestly, I went to a therapist and they opened my life to a lot of things. They opened my mind to a lot of things. They taught me a lot of things that go in my pocket that I can do to solve the problems that I blame myself for. And that's how I overcame it, is that a lot of my problems that I was blaming myself for, I realized and got taught to that I cannot blame myself for the things outside of my control.
That is correct. And I actually give you a round of applause for that because the reason I want to bring this up, blaming yourself is one thing and taking responsibility is another. I think some people may have put that as the same thing. It's similar. If you keep blaming yourself, it doesn't allow you to grow and to learn from things. But when you take responsibility, at least you act on it and you learn from it. Right? So I will say this, don't blame yourself. You are a valid person, and whichever you go through and all that, you have my support. Actually, for anyone who has attended here, you have my support, all right? I love you all. That's the most important thing. And who else wants to share? I think.
We have 10 minutes left just right now.
Yes, thank you.
So my former bully actually ended up being mental abuse. My last partner, would make everything that went wrong would make it my problem, my fault. And it's caused me paranoia to this day. I constantly question if I do, even this morning, I've been driving to the Connery Day, and it snowed up where I'm at, and it led to my current partner affecting us because I'm paranoid from all those ghosts, so to say, of what I went through. I was paranoid, if I drive in this, am I trapped? Am I setting myself up for a trap? Am I going to be blamed? Why are you driving? This is not safe, when I know I'm capable of driving. So I constantly live in a state of paranoia of traps.
Are you seeing someone? I forgot if you raised your hand for the therapist part.
I unfortunately have had to put off a couple sessions because I was part of a layoff in January at Wargaming, and so I'm waiting on Cobra coverage to be able to see my therapist.
Sorry to hear that. All right, anyone else wants to share something? We have 5 minutes. All right, so if anyone doesn't have anything to share, I actually want to thank all of you for coming. I really appreciate it. I know it's a small group. This is actually my first panel for Katsucon. It's my first time paneling at Katsucon. And I know this is very niche. This is different from a lot of the panels we go through. The objective for me, actually for us, is really to keep the conversation going and keep discussing about mental health. Oh, you have a hand?
It's important.
Yes, it is. Oh, I think you were trying to find something. Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you trying to? Yeah, you. Oh, sorry. I thought I saw the hand there. Sorry about that. So, it's very important that we keep this conversation going. Very important. And for those who, if you see anyone who's going through a lot, I mean, if you're able to, lend a hand, as I've said before. All right? Each and every one of us can make a positive difference. That's why I wanted to do this panel. And I want to thank Katsucon for approving this. Because if I can empower all of you to make a positive difference, even with one person for the next week or so, I think we've done our objectives. But you know what? We have a lot of people who need a lot of help. It's been a very rough time for a lot of people. I'm actually asexual, right? I'm under the LGBTQIA. I have friends who are trans who are going through all that. They're being bullied. They're having mental health issues. You know, those are just some of the examples of the people who are going through it. So I hope that I empower all of you to be a helping hand, to make a positive difference. And with that, you can actually inspire others. And I hope that I hope I meet that objective. And also, if you want to follow me, I'm on Wild Goldine. I will post panels on YouTube, whether I'm speaking, whether it's my friends speaking. I also want to thank 3 people. Kat Nieces, who's my Twitch mod, so she contributed to some of the information. Demetrius from Hellspawn Cosplay actually spoke with me at another con, and I want to thank Izzy, Izzy Builds, who actually brought up with the cancel culture thing. And with that, this concludes the panel. Thank you again so much for coming.